else remove all forms of appeal to the Ontario Municipal Board. Nobody can appeal these decisions to put the wind turbines up.
I have a list of the letters that I have written in support of the concerns that have come to me from constituents. I believe that when decisions around moving forward with greening our grid, with providing the people of Ontario with clean, green, renewable energy, we must be sure that the issues of people and communities have been considered.
The issues at Ostrander Point is much more serious than what the press has talked about. There's 5 federal legislations that are criminal legislation, and the recent activity has put the contractor, every person involved in that, including MNR, in a position that I could go and lay private information under the criminal code to a magistrate and attempt to charge him with criminal offenses, which I'm up to now.
The NDP platform pledges to aggressively expand renewable energy, but rather than through developers, through the provincial agency, the Ontario Power Generation, OPG. Given the historical debt levels that we're at in this province, where does the capital for these projects come from?
One of the things we see in terms of huge waste and duplication is the fact that we have several electricity generating bodies. So we would move forward with creating one body for electricity, overseeing electricity, which would save several $1 million just in CEO salaries each year.
Treat Hall in the Green Party platform promises to involve the community in the location and placement of wind turbines. Todd Smith has chimed in on this as well. Can I ask you to elaborate on that, because we've been fooled before?
My stance that I am running on is no further development of industrial wind energy until zoning responsibility is returned to our community. Full stop.
I'm from the PC Party of Ontario, and we are fully committed to having a moratorium on any industrial wind turbine development until after an epidemiological health study is completed, and we are fully behind giving the powers back to the municipality to make a decision as to whether or not an industrial wind turbine ever goes up in their community.
My name is Campbell, and I have a quick question to Ms. Dombrowsky. My health has been permanently compromised by toxic chemicals which were once considered to be safe. So I would like to know why I'm expected to believe wind turbines are safe without independent peer-reviewed health studies.
We do recognize that it is important to pay attention to health threats. And as a government, and I'm sure you know that we've banned pesticides, and we also recognize that the amount of CO2 emissions in our atmosphere kill people, and actually they add about $3 billion to our healthcare costs. The Chief Medical Officer of Health for the Province of Ontario, Dr. Arlene King, has been consulting on this, and the very best advice that she has provided to this government. Other health officials as well have indicated that the information that they have reviewed would indicate that generally that would not be the case. I can't say to you personally what risk there might be to your health. I would say that your doctor would be the very best person to do that.
I'd like to know what the aims are for how much power, what percentage of our power we expect to get from wind power, and if it is, as I suspect, a relatively low percentage, why the dickens there is this horrible push to get the things up immediately and trample all over people doing it?
Right now, the energy that's generated by wind, I believe, is in the neighborhood of 7%. And the green file is in the neighborhood, less than 20%. 40% is nuclear. The other mix is hydroelectricity and gas.
When you look at the press releases that the Liberal government has put out to explain and to communicate its success. I haven't read any press releases at all that talk about the megatons of carbon that are saved. We are having to dump hydroelectricity. In other words, open the dams and let it out. Was it 56 days since last spring? We're having to shut down. There were 5 days when our nuclear plant, at least some nuclear plants, had to be shut down. In other words, we've already paid for it, but we can't use it because we have a surplus of energy.
Personally, of these candidates, I would strongly encourage you. I won't vote for myself out of my values and principles. I will vote for the Green Party. So I believe that either myself or the Green Party are the only two choices you have here that have any real choice. You've been conned for years that voting for somebody that doesn't have a hope of forming a government is a bad use of your vote and it's wasted. And that has got us in this mess for my lifetime. So don't believe that a vote for any of the three establishment parties will solve any of the problems that they've spent decades creating. Thank you.
Yes, there is work to do. We need to do further research and develop energy storage. And we need to end nuclear power. We need to ensure that government acts in such a way as to build community, not tear it apart. I'm not a big fan, as I said earlier, of government consultation. It's always been an act of tokenism as far as I'm concerned. We need to work together as communities to create solutions that are going to work for us. Sometimes that's a long and painful process, and sometimes we don't reach consensus, but it's worth it.
Underlining the fact that the McGuinty government has recognized in the province of Ontario, we must hand on to our children an energy system that is sustainable, an energy system that is affordable, and one that has the least impact on our environment and their future. And to that end, we have committed to doing everything we can to promote green energy in our communities.
If I am elected as your representative, as I said before, I will fight to halt industrial-scale wind development until government restores zoning rights to municipalities. I will fight for conservation as a top priority and for the purchase of cost-effective renewable energy in the form of hydroelectric water power from the province of Quebec, rather than using consumer dollars to subsidize wind energy companies.
The Progressive Conservative Party of Ontario is calling for that moratorium until those health studies are done. And on top of that, the PC Party of Ontario is committed to giving the elected members of Prince Edward County Council the decision in whether or not these giant invasive wind turbines go on the shores or in the backyards of your homes in Prince Edward County.